I did not think it was going to happen that quickly. Anyway, people don't get the help that they need for all kinds of reasons. Kids in certain districts with particular type of parents, employees who can't access that kind of care, or anyone who has to pay out of pocket for those kinds of services, or medications that some of us should probably be on that either can't access or are refused service or resources. I burned my arm. Damn. That's the wrong page. So I just wanted to talk about advocacy, because I know there are a lot of people who step up and speak out and are very supportive in all the different ways that they can, personally, professionally. They're out in the streets, or just being someone who's available to either speak on those things or be a person available to someone who needs services or help. And I wrote down a few things. This stuff is coming across my feed as if the algorithm knows what I'm thinking. Damn, for you pages. So I think that the whole unmasking thing and healing, and like the way that we talk about mental health and getting better, creating better coping mechanisms for ourselves, better healing mechanisms for ourselves, support systems, all of those things. So I'm not just talking about, advocacy in the medical world, in professional spaces, in the places where we're supposed to be able to look for those resources, but also in our personal lives, in the relationships that we have with people. And so I came across a couple things and I'm going to focus a lot on neurodivergent people, just because it's relevant to my life and this is my video. So I had a conversation yesterday with a friend, and I'm calling it a conversation. It was text messages back and forth about how we label people. And one of the things that we were talking about was being labeled sensitive, overly sensitive, or too sensitive. And we're talking about hormone therapy and I call it an argument because I immediately fired back about when people call themselves to this or that, because I realized I was doing that a lot. I tried not to, but there was last year at some point where I came to the realization that I needed to stop calling myself like the kid that I was, the chaos, that I am chaotic. And I think I talked about this in a burrito video, but to kind of switch my own mindset about how I'm identifying myself, not as the chaos, but that chaotic things happen, and the way that I react to them, or the people around me react to them, always brings the attention back to me. And this isn't about me. We're talking about being too sensitive. And I thought there were other videos that I've come across where the conversation is about realizing that we're not too needy or too sensitive, that we just are who we are. And then the people around us are responding to that based on their own biases, based on their own shit, and either will or will not be helpful and supportive because they are either helpful and supportive or not. That based on who they are and how they were raised, maybe. And really trying to push that. I'm saying to this person, you are not too sensitive. You are just you, and the people around you don't know how to deal with their own shit, so they point it back at you. They're reflecting back to you like this too sensitive, when they can't even deal with their own, shoving their own emotions down, or not wanting to have a conversation about something like that feels so private and vulnerable, because they don't want to be private and vulnerable with you or with anyone else. And how do we advocate for ourselves if we're being told that we are those things? How do we stand up for ourselves? How do we become indifferent to some of those criticisms that are really meant to shut us up? Because that really is, shut up, it's too much for me, because they can't handle it. Excuse me. Not because I am too much of anything, you just can't handle it. So maybe you shouldn't be here. There's like this language that's used, right? These words that we use to describe those people, that then we internalize them, especially if these are labels that we've been carrying since we were kids, about how people pointing out how we are different. How are you different? Like you're too sensitive to these things. You're too quiet. You're too loud. You're too noisy. You're too jittery. Kids on caffeine. Your inability to be still, it's too much. So, and I know these conversations happen, they keep happening all the time, and I don't want it to get to the point, because I think it's getting there, where we start to use that language to describe what someone is going through, and then it's used as like a funny way to kind of like dismiss or throw away the actual experience of the person. Because that's what keeps happening, is that people keep dismissing someone's lived experience because they don't understand it, and because they were the person that made that different person feel like they didn't belong, and they've been doing that their whole lives because that's probably how they were raised. And so how do we break out of that? Because we can't keep raising kids this way. They are acting out, and whatever it was that people who raised us, it's like this generational thing that I'm learning about a lot more in this book called 10 to 25. I don't have the actual, I don't know why I'm looking around. I don't have the actual book. It's in my phone. Talking about like the sense of belonging and what drives preteens and teenagers, and how we keep misunderstanding it and we keep wanting to control it. And things changed after 2020. I mean, you thought it was bad before. If you don't have kids in that age group at this point and you're not around them, you have no clue what's coming. Anyway, so what did I write this down? Neurodivergency. Oh, we're trained to be, okay, this is also a video that I watched. We're trained to be receptive and attentive. Like we're quiet and we're receptive and we're attentive to all the things happening around us all the time. Like that's polite, and that's how we should be. And when we grow up as adults, we are also going to be kind and open and receptive. We listen and we try to be there for people, and we try to do the right thing in like every moment of every social situation. We are trying the hardest to be the kind, open, receptive, and to never make anybody uncomfortable, and to make sure everything goes cool, and that we are not drawing any attention to ourselves, and we are always helpful. Always helpful, always helpful. And that shit is not reciprocated. It is not fucking reciprocated by neurotypical people, because you are not like that. Because that is like the false thing about this whole training that we go through as kids, especially if you're neurodivergent, because they want you to be quiet and receptive and constantly helpful. And then when you need it, it is not reciprocated. And then we get confused and we ask questions, and then we get in trouble. That is what happens. And it's really hard to advocate for yourself, because the more you want to clear things up, the more people see you as causing problems. Like, what's the problem is that you don't want to clarify, either because you're lying or because you don't actually understand why you want things done a certain way. You want to say this is how we've always done it, but you know that that is not a legitimate answer, but you just want us to shut up. So there's this fear that I get of advocating, because I can't quite tell if people are going to respond in that way or not. And the more I've been realizing those things where it feels like a trap, And it's almost like you just want to be able to identify the people that are not typical. They're not neurotypical, that we're different. And I'm saying we because I'm included. Okay, the other thing I wrote down, and if I was doing this live, I could have brought these up as titles, but... Okay, so the other thing is we're taught about what it is to be rude and that we don't want to be that. And so the idea is then to make sure that you show caring towards other people, because the point is to make sure that everyone is happy. Because if you don't care for other people, it diminishes their happiness and it doesn't matter how we feel. And that's also hard to advocate for yourself to receive it, because then you're seen as selfish or wanting to take the spotlight away from other people. It's fucked up. It makes it hard, especially as kids, because then you're not on the receiving end. You don't ever feel like you're on the receiving end of kindness or allowed to be happy. I watched this video the other day, and I don't know what the context was. I read some of the comments, and I think there was people who had actually been at this event where they said that this particular kid had been causing a lot of disruptions throughout this, school play or show or whatever. And at the end, all the kids were saying something at the microphone, like a good night kind of a thing. And the kid came up to the mic, and right before he could speak, the teacher took the microphone away from him and told him to get off the stage. Now, that was the only part of the video that was shown. And of course, it's like a dramatic thing. Like, why would you do that to a kid? And the comments were like, he was being disruptive. That was like the third time he had gone up there, and he just wanted to be involved again. And he was being loud and things like that. But why was he up there a third time? So he doesn't get to do whatever he wants. Like, no one gets to do whatever they want. There are limits. If he had already been up there twice and been like, whatever, why was he allowed to get back on the stage? Because he was the last one. The stage was clear. So at some point, he said or did whatever, got off the stage, and then made his way back around to get back up on stage. And then why do you need to cause him distress by yanking the mic? Why did you let him? And I'm saying you because there's a room full of a cafeteria full of adults. So the setup to something like that is what, whatever that is supposed to be is being controlled by someone other than the person who is autistic or neurodivergent in some other way. And the people in charge are not prepared. And they don't give a shit. They're just going to yank the mic because that's what's easiest for them. And if I was that kid's parent, I just would burn the school down or something. Asking why for clarity and understanding. I talk about this all the time to people. I don't know if I brought this up in another video, but it really is just asking for clarity. I just want to understand why you need me to do something, and for some reason asking why to other people, to neurotypical people, feels like an assault. Like, feels like I'm questioning your authority, that I'm questioning your intelligence. There was something about, in this book, the 10 to 25, about questioning somebody's intelligence when we say to kids, especially, what were you thinking? When sometimes if I ask, what were you thinking? And I'm saying it in this tone, what were you thinking? Because I'm making this face. It sounds like, what the fuck could possibly have been going on in your head, you stupid idiot? When I'm really like, what made you think that was... See, even that it sounds so rude, but I really want to know what led to that. And I tell people, if I ever jump from like this topic of conversation to this other topic of conversation, and you're like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? I want you to ask me, how did you get there? How did you get there? Please tell me how you got from dinosaur nuggets to space travel. Like, what? I'm sure in my head, and it only takes a second for me to get there, and then whatever comes out of my mouth because I'm thinking about it. This happened when I was texting my sister the other day. I said something about I forgot what it was, And then and it was like sleeping over, like, come hang out, or come, come, let's have a sleepover. And then I completely sent her immediately, this is texting, immediately texted her about something else. And she's like, what are you even, how did you get there? And I was like, ADHD. She's like, okay. I'm just saying, we try to advocate for ourselves and for other people. And I feel like the establishment, or the way we've built things, fights against it once. And especially now, I know that there's a concern about how these structures are going to be punitive. Kids are going to suffer. Adults who can't get medication, who have been on medication, will suffer. Excuse me. Access to resources, veterans who are losing therapists and access to medication, processes are being destroyed. It's like the advocacy needs to happen across the board for all of us, because they're going to take shit away from everybody, not just the people that you question. What the fuck were you thinking? So be kind and drink your water, bitches. See you next week.